Hi guys, Chelsea from The Reading Outlaw here to do what is actually, I think, a really important and really special book tag. This book tag was started by Jen, who I will link to below, who's an absolutely beautiful bookseller and publisher of both books and poetry. If you are anything like me, you will link on our channel below, get sucked in, and watch her videos for hours and not even realize that her hands look a little bit different than everybody else's hands. But when she created this tag video, she started that video, which again I'll link to below, with a very personal story about how people are total shit. And people suck, and people are mean and rude and vile and awful, and all the other synonyms that you can think of for just being absolutely disgusting. People have said horrible things to her. I myself, as a girl who has been large in the past and is not exactly the skinniest thing now, has faced also ridicule. I won't call it similar ridicule because it's different. It takes place on a different level. But like Jen said in that video, these tag videos aren't about pity parties. They're empowerment parties, and they're about sharing the books that help make you a better person and that you think can help make other people better people just by the sheer act of reading. That's what books do for us. They introduce us to worlds we don't know, people we don't know, and experiences we couldn't have. They make us more empathetic, more powerful as human beings, more able to relate and be relatable to. And I'm on my soapbox right now, but I just really like this tag. So I picked out, I think it's 7 books that are kind of off the beaten track, I think, of what a lot of people are showing in these videos, but these are videos that have really, really helped kind of shape me as a person. I'm going to go through them kind of in as much as possible in age chronology. And so the first one is the BFG by Roald Dahl. This is a new copy, so it's a little beat up, but it's not quite as beat up as my original. This book taught me so much about the expectations we have of other people, about the prejudices we make when we hear rumors of other people and we take them to be true. The BFG is supposed to be a horrible, gnarly monster, gnashing creature, just like all of his brothers, but he's not. He's large, he's friendly, he wants to help save the day, and it just taught me so much about, not believing everything you hear, about getting to know people before we make snap judgments of them, and about trusting people to be themselves, about being able to trust that people will turn out for the better despite what we may have heard. The next book, and this is one of my favorite books of all time. If you've been watching my channel before, you know that I love this book. I have it in paperback, hardback. I have an annotated edition. This is, my beat up paperback. This is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. I think that this book teaches you everything that I think that you need to learn. It's like one of those everything I need to know I learned in kindergarten books. But this book will teach you about the importance of imagination and empathy and self-control and all of the personal attributes that I think we need. This book teaches you about yourself more so than it necessarily teaches you or gives you experiences about other people. Milo is required to go through his own adventure and to learn his own lessons about the way that he operates and about the way that he views the world and how to, solve his own problems and come up with his own solutions to get out of things. I think that this book is so important in terms of creativity. This book teaches us that not only is language and words important, but so are math and numbers, and so is an acceptance of people who are different. The whole point of this book is that a war between math and language has ripped apart the princess's rhyme and reason. And so without both math and language, we have no rhyme and reason in the world. That's what this book is about. It's a giant metaphor for all of that. It was my first introduction to fantasy. As I've said before, any book that starts out with a map in the front pages is bound to be a good one. It's the first intro I ever had to kind of, a fantastical out of this world experience. And I don't care if you're an adult. I don't care how old you are. If you have not read this book, you need to do yourself a favor and read it. You will fly through it. It will make you smile. It will make you contemplate. It's absolutely beautiful. Next up on the list is a book that's probably going to be surprising to a lot of people, and it's Heaven by V.C. Andrews. I know, it's a V.C. Andrews book. I get it. Believe me, but I had my phase, and something tells me that you did too. If it wasn't V.C. Andrews, it was something else. It was R.L. Stine, it was Stephen King. Cop to it. We all have our pop culture authors that we love. Mine is V.C. Andrews, and this book, Heaven, is the first in her Castile series, and this was the first book I ever read that's about people who are poor, and by poor, I mean like poor, like bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, beyond even the poverty line. Like the poverty line looks like wealth to the people of this book. It's set in rural Appalachia. Heaven lives with her, her 4 siblings, 5 siblings. think there are four siblings because it's her and her brother, and then there's a younger brother and sister as well. So, and she's a smart girl, she's an ambitious girl, but she can't do much with that because she lacks the resources and the funds. And then her father does something absolutely awful to her, and she's introduced to a kind of different life and a new life. And it's about her struggle between those two things. Of course, it's also filled with like pulpy sex and weird like family dynamics and all of these different kinds of things. But beyond that, there are lessons about income inequality, income distribution, self-identification when it comes to your socioeconomic class, open opportunities and the differences in opportunities when it comes to economics. When I first read this, of course, I didn't pick up on any of that, but I've read it several times since then. And I actually just think that it's books like this that hide, kind of in plain sight, the very deep messages in books that may be seen as pulp. And I think that that's also an important lesson in and of itself, that we shouldn't be judging books by their cover because sometimes the most innocuous books can teach us some of the biggest lessons. Next up on the list is a book that I read in high school. It's called Boy Meets Boy by David Levithan. This is a book that for me taught me a lot of lessons and gave me a lot of hope for my friends who were part of the LGBTQ community. I myself was always an ally. I'm cisgendered, heterosexual female, but I have a great many friends who weren't. It's always been a community that I felt I fit in really well with and that I have a lot of support and love for. And so this is a book in which the world that David Levithan creates is a world where being gay is like okay. It's absolutely fine. He lives in a school where it's actually more odd to be like heterosexual. I shouldn't say that either. It's like gender doesn't exist. It's like sexual stereotypes don't exist. The lead quarterback is also the homecoming queen, He's a crossdresser. There are straight Christian characters, there are gay characters. The central love story is between two boys. David Levithan has such a way of twisting words. As you can see, this is one of the books that I've owned that I've written all over in because I just think it's so full of so many things that we need to know and be aware of and learn and be teaching our teenagers and our children as they grow up. It's about acceptance and tolerance of many things, of gender, of sexuality, of religion, of so many things. And it's so small and it reads so quickly, but it's another one of those books that kind of packs a hidden punch underneath it. So much like the Phantom Tollbooth, do yourself a favor and pick it up. Read the two in the afternoon and you'll be 10 times a better person than you were before you sat down with them. These next books are the ones that I've read since getting into college. So they've had kind of a deeper impact on me as I've grown up, and instead of teaching me things necessarily, they've kind of caused me to reevaluate some of the things I thought I'd already learned and already taught myself. Beloved, this is a book, well, Ashley Riordan talks about The Bluest Eye, but I had a very similar experience with Beloved, that I think this book teaches us so much about dealing with our past and about how to accept our past and the effect it's going to have on our future and to not live in such torment and sorrow. It's also the first book that I ever kind of struggled reading. It's the first book I ever had to really, and that sounds horrible to say, but I'm hoping some of you out there can sympathize. Those of us who grew up reading books and as book people, reading was always, at least for me, kind of an easy thing to do. Reading and understanding and kind of getting it, that was easy for me until I got to this book my freshman year of college. And this book made me stop and say, whoa, like I have no idea what I'm doing. I need to sit down with this book and see what Toni Morrison is trying to teach me. And every time I sit back down with it, I find new things. This is another book that I have read and underlined to death, mostly because I wrote several essays on it throughout my college experience, but also because, like I said, every time I sit back down with it, it teaches me something new. The mother-daughter dynamics in this book, or the mother-children dynamics in this book, are something that's even more important to me, and I'm hoping to reread it soon now that I've had a kid and see how that works and what impact that has on my reading of this book. But I just absolutely love it. I've been a huge Toni Morrison fan ever since I picked it up, and I will read every single word this woman commits to paper. Next up is John Steinbeck's East of Eden. And this book helped me kind of reconsider and come to terms with some issues that I have with family and family forgiveness and family acceptance and how to get along with family, and this kind of notion that your family and the people that are, you are born into and born with are going to be around for your entire life. And you have to reconcile that and learn how to deal with that while not losing parts of yourself. I absolutely love this book. As you can see, it's falling apart. Sometimes I just like to pick it up and flip through it and just look. Tim Shell comes from this book, which is a term of choice, and I may. That is a tattoo that I want coming up in the future. Essentially, this book is the retelling of Cain and Abel and the fall from Eden and all of, the opening chapters of Genesis done by Steinbeck. But there are some of the best and worst people in literature you'll ever meet in this book, which you can learn from both the good and the bad traits that you do and don't want. This book is about the people that you have in your life and the way that you associate with them and let them change you, and the way that ripples out through generations of family and friends. It's long, but it's amazing. I will go to the mattresses for this one and say that I liked it so much better than The Grapes of Wrath. If you read The Grapes of Wrath and didn't like it, please give this one a try, because I just think it's so much more beautiful. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Please do yourself a favor and read it. And lastly, this is a book that I actually just read within the past couple of years. It's the most recent book on the list, but I adored it. It is Birds of a Lesser Paradise by Megan Mayhew Bergman. This book has helped me kind of open my mind when it comes to feminism and femininity. I went through college thinking I knew that what kind of feminist I was, and what feminism was, and what it stood for, and how to be one. And I've since learned, through growing up and having to get a job and becoming a wife and a mother, that I don't have all the answers. Big shock. Hey, I did not have all the answers at 22, 23. I don't have them now at 26 or 27. Sorry. And this book has helped me realize that, but it's helped me realize how to get in touch with and rely on fellow women in my life, female identity. This book basically draws a lot of connections between humans and animals, specifically women and different animals. And that kind of metaphorical framework, for some reason, really worked for me and just really expanded the way that I thought about how we relate to each other as people and as animals and Homo sapiens, and especially for females in a world where I think it's difficult it's difficult enough alone to be a single female, let alone then to try and have relationships with females. So that's one that I would suggest that you pick up. It's short stories. They're super quick. I absolutely think that it's one that you need to pick up. It's one that'll change your life. It's one that I think that you can get through in bits and pieces. If you really stop to think about it, there are lessons in here for everyone, male or female. And those are, of course, not all the books that have helped me become a better person, but those are some of the best books that have helped me expand my mind, think outside the box, be more compassionate and more considerate, learn more about myself, challenge my own views, and really kind of utilize literature to do that thing that it does so well, where it shines a mirror back at us and allows us to see both ourselves and the world that we exist in, and how perhaps we could maybe do it differently and how we could do it better. Like, comment down below, subscribe. Let me know what you think, you guys. I'm always around for conversation. And please let me know what books help you become a better person so that maybe I can get something from them too. Happy reading. Bye.